Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx Speaker, Business Positioning Strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. Life Transformation Radio is heard in over 90 countries with more than 50,000 listeners that tune in every single week and hundreds of thousands of downloads. So I want to thank you to those who are joining us for the first time, and thank you for the returning listeners that have been listening to us for however long you've been listening. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. It's here that you hear the stories of why we do what we do. We highlight those transformational moments that change our lives and how we use them to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Life Transformation Radio, and you can join us on the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Life Transformation Radio, and you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Speaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Himalaya app, Google Podcasts, Pandora. We're everywhere. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a rating and review letting us know what you think of the show. Today, I'm going to talk about the transformation of Life Transformation Radio, and I'm only going to come on for just a few moments. So I got the chat open. If you are listening live on blogtalkradio.com/Life Transformation Radio, or if you're hearing us on a recording on your favorite podcast platform, welcome. What I'm going to talk about is the transformation of Life Transformation Radio. So I started Life Transformation Radio back in February of 2017 because I started hearing a lot more about podcasts. I knew they were out. I heard people doing it since 2014, 2015. I saw shows that were kind of talking about the podcast, but it wasn't mainstream. I don't think we crossed the chasm yet. There's a great book out there called Crossing the Chasm, and there's a great study done called the Law of Diffusion of Innovation Theory. And the Law of Diffusion of Innovation Theory basically says that there are a few types of people. There's your early adopters, your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. And the laggards are people that are frustrated that they have to buy a cell phone because rotary phones don't work anymore. It's those type of people. They're mad that they have to upgrade their Nintendo to a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox because they don't make Nintendo games anymore. They have beep, but there's no cell phone service for beepers. Those are the laggards. The adopters were doing podcasting. I think the first one was like 1993. And in 1993, it was called audio blogging. It wasn't until 2004 where Apple decided to make a podcast designed to capture all of the podcasts that people have been putting out there. And so they dubbed it the podcast. They had an iPod. Well, people didn't take the iPod for podcasting. They took the iPod and put their music on it. So audio blogging became podcasting, 2004, 2005, when Apple coined it. And then people were doing it 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. When I started hearing about podcasts, hadn't really listened to them, knew about them. But then in 2016, when I wrote my first book, Decisions, The Power to Overcome Self-Defeating Behaviors, I decided that, I got to start a podcast. This is a thing. This is going to be the new medium. This is going to be where the big boys play, and we have to start a podcast. And so we started Life Transformation Radio in February of 2017. The early majority had taken a podcast real early. I reference crossing the chasm. When you go from early adopters to the early majority, most of the new stuff, cars or computers or the podcast or any business, Uber, anything that gets created won't become market penetrable until between 16 to 18%. It's right around the 16%, because at 32%, you have gained majority market penetration, because you cross the chasm between early majority to late majority. It's the other 32% that are like, crap, I missed the boat. You do it with stocks, you do it with businesses, investing. Oh, I'm late to the party. There were so many people on Facebook when Facebook first came out. And then people were like, all right, well, everybody else is doing it. I guess I will too. And those seem to be the late majority. Like, all right, well, my friend's on it. I guess I will too. I guess I'll do the same thing. I guess I'll follow. Those are the late majority people. But from the early adopters to the early majority, it's a 16% market penetration. That's when you start to get that hockey stick on a graph. It's where it's kind of flat, it's kind of plateaued. It's not really anything. And then boom, it just skyrockets in popularity. I dare you to check out that book called Crossing the Chasm. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur, and you want to find out how to penetrate the market, if you want to know what your market penetration number is, do that. Read Crossing the Chasm. And then look up the law of diffusion of innovation. So in February 2017, launched a show. Not a lot of people listened to it. I didn't really do the proper launch that I should, but I had a lot of great guests lined up. In the first season of 2017, I had Zig Ziglar's son, Tom Ziglar. I had the late Frank Shankowitz, who sadly passed away from cancer this past year. He was the founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, friend of mine. He was on my show. And then he came on my show again to talk about Wishman, the movie. If you've ever seen Wishman, it is an amazingly well-done movie. Amazing. And then I had Bruce Buffer from the UFC on the show. And I had amazing other people, amazing guests on the show. A couple friends of mine in real estate and in business entrepreneurship. It was great. And then I got asked to speak at my first podcast event called New Media Summit. Steve Olsher hosts that. Great event. And then I got booked to speak at PodFest. And then I got booked to speak at Outliers Podcast Festival. Ever Gonzalez puts that event, and I spoke at that event a few times. Spoke at PodFest with Chris Krimstos a few times. So podcasting has really opened up a whole nother avenue of speaking that I wasn't using before. It's usually business events, some other things. So Life Transformation Radio is getting even bigger guests and bigger guests and bigger guests, to the point where I'm interviewing Mark Victor Hansen. I'm interviewing the Kiss lead guitarist, Bruce Kulick, who was the lead guitarist of the band Kiss from 84 to 96. I've got millionaires coming on the show and people who are like the best of the best of the best coming on the show, having interviews with me, forming relationships. This is what the transformation of the show has become. Before I want to talk about your journey, I want to talk about, of course, the why. Talk about what was the best part of it. What was the least favorite part of it? What was this? There's a lot of questions, about 14, 15 questions when I first started. By 2018, 2019, I think it was 2019, I counted down, it was like 3 main questions. What is your why? What is a transformational moment? Elevate the world around you. And then everything inside of that, I could ask those questions. I could be like, oh, wow, that sounds really tough and that sounds really bad. But those are the questions that I'm asking, which I think are very important questions if you're in that deep conversation. We've interviewed people from Australia, all around Europe. We've interviewed people from Russia. We've interviewed people from all around the world. The show is live. And I love doing it live because I can have call-ins. People can call in and talk to the guests. They can ask questions. We had people from Australia call in, and it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible. We are in 2020 in this pandemic, and we're thriving, telling amazing stories. Business is thriving. We're launching podcasts for clients. We're launching books for clients. We're thriving. And then 2021 comes around, and I'm eligible for military retirement. So for the past 20 years, I have been in the United States Air Force, joining November of 2001, and that has been absolutely incredible. So now I retire at the end of 2021. And as I was talking to my wife, I said, man, I don't know if I can keep this show up like while the transition is happening, because I'm going to go through a transformation myself. I don't want to stop the show. Maybe I'll just batch record. Maybe I'll just record a bunch, and then I'll just upload them. It'll be fine. I'll just upload them. And then, as I was thinking through it, and then we have the Success Core Mastermind that I run for my business, the Success Core. In the show notes is the website, the Success Core, spelled CORPS, the Success Core. Check out the mastermind. Check out the videos. Check out everything we have going on with creating, launching, and monetizing podcasts and books and speaker businesses. But as I'm in the mastermind and I'm telling my members this, I said, man, I'm not sure. I want to keep it going, but I'm not sure I can. I mean, we're going to be moving. We're going to be transitioning and retiring. I mean, there's going to be a lot happening in a very short amount of time. So maybe just batch record and upload, schedule the episodes, upload like 20 episodes so that I can continue uploading, but I'm not actually like recording live. And somebody mentioned, well, maybe you should sell it. Sell it? What are you talking about? Yeah, man, you should sell your show. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't think anybody will buy it. I mean, it's not that big of a show. It's not like, Tony Robbins or TEDx or, the Jordan Harbinger show. It's not a big show. They said, man, I think you should, man. I think somebody will buy it. I'm like, I doubt it, man, but we'll put it out there. So I created a video on Facebook, put it out there. I put a dollar amount. Within minutes, 3 people messaged me to buy my show. I got an offer for $20,000 that I turned down. The guy was going to take my show, flip it, and resell it. And I didn't think he was going to do it, but then somebody I was talking to said, no, dude, that's exactly what he plans on doing. He's going to buy your show, he's going to flip it, he's going to resell it for a crap load of money. So that's not what I want to do. Why do you want to rebrand my show into whatever he wants? And then, like, no, I'm not going to do that. He's going to take your email list. No, man, I'm not doing that. Calls, and a friend of mine called me up. He's like, hey, man, I want to buy your show. I said, no way. He's like, I want to buy your show. So we talked, waited a couple of days, talked again, worked a couple things out, and I am pleased to announce that Life Transformation Radio has been sold. I got paid well, but I'm happy to take less than $20,000 because he is not going to flip the show. He's going to host it. He's going to host the show. It was really close to that number, though, but he's going to host the show, and that is what I'm most thankful for. Because I thought that selling the show and flipping the show would have been a disservice to you, the listener, to everybody who has listened to the show, has guested on my show, everybody who has been there for every episode, through the guests that have cried on my show, to the callers that have called in and expressed how much this episode or this show has meant to them, everybody who has left 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, thought it would do a disservice. So my good friend, Rob Actis, as of April 1st, will be taking over hosting duties of Life Transformation Radio. He has a new graphic. He has an all-new guest lineup. You're going to see a few changes, not many, a few changes. But Rob Actis has a podcast called Living the Law of Action podcast. Rob Actis is also a voice actor. He is also the voice of the audiobook from The Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod. And if you guys know Hal Elrod, he is amazing. Super good person. Rob Actis of The Miracle Morning audiobook. Rob Actis is also going to be launching a few other podcasts. But most notably, he is the host of the Top 50 Podcast Countdown, where he counts down, just like Casey Kasem did back in the 80s and 90s, where he counts down the best top 50 podcasts in the country. And I'm really excited for him to come on board, take over the show, and he's gonna treat you guys well, and you guys are gonna be in good hands. So I just want to say thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for all the guests. Thank you so much for the listeners that have listened to the show, that have shared it out to their friends. This is not goodbye. This is just, I'll see you in a little bit. Because I'm going to come back and co-host some episodes with him. We're going to do a couple shows together. And then he's going to have some of his friends come on, and he's going to do some guesting and some other stuff. And I'm going to tell you that the April 1st episode is going to be no joke. The April 1st episode is going to be no joke. Get your tissues ready, because the story that he shares with his daughter is a gut-wrenching story, and it's as gut-wrenching as it ever gets. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has messaged me privately, has emailed me, has said how much the show made them, how much they enjoyed the guests that I brought on the show. So with that, starting next week, we're going to be finishing out our March guests, and then he's going to take over. So I want you to please welcome Rob Actis to the show when you see him or hear him. I want you to be there for him, support him like you did for me, and I want to thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I hope that this show that I started back in 2017, which now has over 464 episodes, touched your life in some way. I hope that us coming every single day of the week, Tuesday through Friday, has meant something to you. The guest that we've had on the show has changed and transformed your life in a way that maybe wouldn't have been possible without the gateway of this show. So with that, I always sign off. Live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live an amazing life. Don't forget to subscribe. Please leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere that you can review the show. Please subscribe to Life Transformation Radio. Review the show. Leave a 5-star rating review if you think it deserves it. And please share out this episode and many others at blogtalkradio.com/Life Transformation Radio. We'll see you on the next episode.